Hello, my name is Annabel Harsing, and today we'll be talking about doing a literature review. So, with all of this information, the question obviously is how much is enough? When can I actually stop doing my literature review? Well, as we've said before, you can never really stop because there's always new information coming on. But if you do your first literature review to establish the topic and to establish the research gap in the field, what ballpark are we looking at, and when do you know to stop? So in deciding how much is enough, focus and relevance are really the key words. So what I suggest you do is create what I call a relevance tree. You identify relevant issues or theories in your study and you visually represent how they relate to each other. So for instance, are some issues subcategories of other issues? Are some theories clearly related to each other or opposed to each other? So make sure you cover all of those in a relevance tree, and then identify how much information you have on each of the individual issues and where you're still lacking full information. Then, of course, it's always handy to have a bit of a ballpark. Obviously, we can never say you need to have a specific number of references, but I would say in general, 200 to 400 references in your thesis should be enough. It's important to be comprehensive, but not exhaustive. Nobody wants to go through a whole swath of literature that is not really that relevant. It can be extremely exhausting to be exhaustive. It's important to focus on relevance, and we'll go through a bit more on how to do that in later sections. But don't forget that a literature review also covers the methodology and the analysis. So it's not just about defining the problem and reviewing what others have done, but also on substantiating your methodology and substantiating your analysis. Then on a smaller scale, you can also ask yourself how many references you need to support a particular argument. If you make a particular argument in a paragraph or a sentence, do you need one reference, 2, 3, 4, 20? Again, I've written up a blog post on this with some guidelines. So again, I would recommend you go to the slides, read the blog post, and come back with any questions you might have in the session. Then once you've found all of this information, sometimes it's really hard to condense it, to convey how this all relates to your thesis. So one way to do this is to, for instance, use tables to summarize studies. And you won't be able to read what it says here. I suspect you won't be able to read what it says here. But it basically gives the authors an indicating whether a study is empirical or conceptual, what the sample was for the study, whether the hypotheses in the study were confirmed or not, the variables that were included in the study, and then the specific content. In this case, it was about typologies of multinational corporations. So I indicated which type of multinational corporation they found in this particular study. And you can see that many of them found 3 of the 4, but some only found 2, and others found 4 different typologies. These kind of summaries are really time consuming to do. So make sure that you figure out whether there's any other studies that have already done so. This particular table, I had just finished creating this. And then a few weeks after this, I discovered an article that had actually done virtually the same. So I could have saved myself a lot of time starting out with that particular article and then finding out whether there were any other studies in this field. And that's something we'll look at step 6 as well.